This is the Mohsin Mortgage Program with Sarah Mohsin. Mohsin Mortgage is licensed in several states for residential and commercial purchases and refinancing. Call 800-662-9550. And now, here's your host, Sarah Mohsin.
Great to be back here again, folks. This is the Pittsburgh Weekend Edition, and we are very grateful and really happy to have a good friend, I'd say close friend, Darnell Dinkins, really Super Bowl champion and so much more. You're really a great human being. You've done a lot of good work, not only in respect to playing football, but also even coaching and being mentor to many.
Right. Well, I want to thank you for allowing me to be on your show. I want to thank you for all the listeners that's viewing and listening to your show. Obviously, they're wise and look for different things that help them in all aspects of their life. But God instills a lot of things into us, and really when you meet your failures, it's kind of when he's really made strong. And so I truly am sitting in this seat today from meeting you and your brother. I mean, you guys have been absolutely just amazing. And really it comes down to being able to follow, the plan as far as when you fail and how you come up from failure. And that truly leads to your success. Never losing ambition. I failed and failed and failed again, but I never lost ambition in me. Never doubted myself or what God's plan was for me. And here I am sitting today talking to you.
Well, I think we have the same vision and belief system and values. So God is great and has created this wonderful relationship that we have. That's why we're here.
Right.
And so I have to smile because I'm almost scared to challenge you. But here we go. Dick's Marathon coming up in May.
Right.
I'm challenging you to the fastest half marathon.
I have never turned down the challenge, so it's.
Are you ready?
Oh my gosh, I'm ready. But it goes against everything that I am because I consider myself more like either a lion or a silverback who moves in short spurts. So everything distance goes totally against who I am as an individual. 6'5", 285 pounds. That's going to be a challenge in itself. So I'm scared, but I definitely will do it for a great cause.
I love it because the bottom line is that. Dick's Marathon, that is a great event. Dick's Sporting Goods, great company. And many years ago, I started my radio career with Glenn Meekum. And so Dick's, they were a sponsor. So we've done a lot of great things throughout the years. And this is a challenge. And I know it's crazy, but it'll be fun. And it's a great event. And I don't think that I'm going to win in any way. But
that's okay. That's okay. You're the competitor right now. So really, it's almost like a biblical David and Goliath right now. You know what I'm saying? Superstar guy, player, athlete. And Sarah, who's an amazing woman herself, small, polite, and just going to go out there and probably kick my butt.
We're going to have some laughs over it, but it's a good cause. And we, I have to say that we're all about good causes and nonprofits and supporting great causes. But also great companies like Dick's Sporting Goods.
Absolutely.
So tell me a little bit about your wonderful career and where you started and where you are.
Well, before I even get into that, I want to say Dick's ultimately is a great place. And I have a great, very close friend, as you know, with Dick's. And I think that he, in hearing this was probably going to be elated in moving forward with that. So I'll make sure that, he understands and knows as well. All your listeners will be looking forward to our challenge and watching you probably kick tortoise in the hair, you kick my butt.
I don't know about that, but we'll have a lot of fun. So you started really in, not in the best situation as a person who went through many obstacles to get to your NFL career, right?
Absolutely. When you look back over a career, you see a guy stand on the podium, you see a guy holding up his shirt, wearing a hat, shaking hands with the commissioner, and then going on to his, illustrious career. Well, that's always been a vision of mine, but really, it started, back in the Hill District, in Pittsburgh. I'm growing up in Elmore Square and really trying to decide what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. I remember walking down the streets in Baltimore. My mother had stints of living in Pittsburgh, Boston, Baltimore, and obviously, retaining back in Pittsburgh. And I just remember seeing people sitting around and saying, Mom, why are they sitting there? And, my father wasn't very present in my life. And, I could sit around and say the woe is me story, but she instilled enough value in me to allow me to be able to understand smart decisions. And what hard work and work ethic meant. Her and my grandma Barbara, who, from the day I was born, allowed me to see the value within myself. So as I come through, a trying time, not very wealthy, didn't really have much. You can either, make excuses or, go down the road less traveled to get to where you want to be at. I just remember seeing people sitting around and just trying to figure out why so many people not really trying to progress in life? Why are they not, doing anything? And what's the difference? And I truly started understanding that it's really your education. So as I come up, I start realizing that I do have a little bit of a gift. I always wanted to be a wrestler, which is crazy.
Really?
I probably could speak so well because I used to watch Hulk Hogan, the Road Warriors when I was a kid. I literally would, get paper bags and cut them out, get cardboard, put aluminum foil around it, put on the front, and make my own wrestling belts. And then we'd go out and attempt to wrestle kids, which didn't end up so well for a lot of them.
I know.
So you can imagine, the stories that my mother seen, standing there in my underwear, thinking I was just the toughest guy ever. And as I, started getting older, my sister dropped a bomb on me saying that, that's not real. Look, if you throw a person to the ropes, why would they come back so you can kick them in the face? And it just made sense to me after that. Like, okay, what she does have a point.
Smart sister.
Right? So as I, continued to progress as a young man, I found that I was able to run a little bit faster than people, throw a little bit further. And that's where the love of football came up with first Donald Nania, who was at Margaret Mills Middle School, and then moving forward to James Trent, who's a great coach at Shinley High School, and now I'm just overcoming a stint with cancer in his mouth, and I just send prayers out to him every single day. Great guy, upcoming father, teaches in the Obama area, and just really one of the men who are trying to sustain for his family after coming through such, tragedy. Mm-hmm. So, he taught me all that he could at Shinley High School, and coming up, I was one of the top 100 players in the country. And what ended up happening at this time, I tell kids all the time, before I say another word on this microphone, before I, to people who's listening, you achieve a lot of success, instantly, and the world wants to, put you on a pedestal. And you start understanding that, they admire what you do. But I would give up the Super Bowl ring. I would give up the years in the football. I would give up being one of the top, players in the country. I would give up all the notoriety and praise to apply myself more for 4 years of high school and 4 years of college, because I was not educated enough to understand that, school is a huge part. What you know goes further than what you can do. And if I'd applied myself, I was still a 3.0 student, but if I applied myself really, committing my focus, feeding my focus and starving my distraction, once again, feeding my focus and starving my distraction, I would have been able to achieve a lot more in a short period of time. And now God has still allowed those things to happen. So that's one thing I want people to understand, is that you have to really dial into whatever you want to be. But if you're dealing with a child right now or anybody, those 8 years, high school and college, determines the next 30 to 40 years of your life. And you really have to starve your distractions and feed your focus during that time. So luckily, by the grace of God, I was able to go on and, get a good, a lot of scholarship opportunities and end up choosing the University of Pittsburgh. You come around this area, I was, kind of touted the cyborg quarterback. I can do roll to the right, throw about 70, 80 yards in the air, 30-plus touchdowns, over 100 tackles. I mean, you name it, I could do it, and end up choosing Pitt. And I chose it's kind of funny, I was kind of scared to fly when recruiting was going on. So
really?
I used to watch La Bamba when I was growing up and seeing that he crashed. I'm like, that may happen to me, so I don't want that. I don't want that to happen. Yeah. God assured me that wasn't going to happen, and here I am worrying about it. Still, once again, putting things into my control and not just trusting. And so I never went on a lot of recruiting visits unless I could drive there. And when it came down to it, from my sophomore year to my senior year, pretty much my top 4 choices was Virginia Tech, Michigan State, Notre Dame, Pitt, and Penn State. And as I started to try to figure out which schools I wanted to go to, I just thought it was best to stay home. Because it was a comfort place. I didn't really have much. When you're a kid and you go through not having a father around, where your mother's in and out, you end up feeling like you're an inconvenience. And I believe that God is putting on my heart how to resolve and help a lot of people. And he's put on, things as far as being justified in how you feel, right? And having no compassion towards people. If you come home as a parent and you see your kid's room all messed up, you feel justified. You worked all day. You did this, you did that. So now I just ask you to clean your room. And even though your kid is your love, you don't have no compassion because they ain't listening, and now you just become across brutal. Well, I almost was the same way in terms of how I was, being raised at that time and what I was kind of relaying to other people. It was just a message of brutality because I thought that no one cared. I thought that my mom wasn't around. People who had to watch me made me feel like I was, affecting their environment. And I really didn't learn what it was to kind of just be truly loved, So it was something that I wrestled with, coming up. So when I went to Pitt, I ended up having to deal with a lot of adversity and really didn't know how to respond, and I was just very immature in the way I handled things. So instead of walking around, because I felt like no one cared, I just internalized it. And if we think about a volcano, it's nothing more than a lot of heat and gas and steam that's trying to find an exit. And the sad thing about it, when that volcano blows,
I wouldn't want to be on the other side of it with you.
You can imagine. It literally is Incredible Hulk coming out. It's a brown version instead of a green version,
That's all good.
Right. So, you scare everybody around you, and you end up something that's phenomenal, or not phenomenal, but with volcanoes, there's a steam that comes out called Nui Andante, and really it travels at about 120 miles an hour, and everything it touches, it turns to stone. Mm-hmm. And pretty much the people who don't have any idea that a volcano is about to blow is the people who usually get burnt up by it. And that's really what it is when you internalize a lot of your feelings, like I was doing in high school. And when people that was closest to you came around, you end up blowing up because you're so upset with your situation. And, I was supposed to be one of the star players at Pitt, and ended up dealing with a ton of adversity down there, not playing a position. Coaches telling me I couldn't play because I didn't look at them. I'm doing positive things as far as athletically, but it wasn't touted or seen as noteworthy. Told that race wasn't really my race. I couldn't comprehend a lot of things that was going on. Didn't think I was knowledgeable enough to be a quarterback. So there's a lot of different things that kind of happened that could really deter a person. Mm-hmm. But when God gives you vision, people think that they can just deny it. They can block your route, but they can't. Sometimes they promote it. And my life is a lot like Joseph, when he said his vision, when he told people of his vision, when he told family of his vision, when he told the people that were closest to his vision, they were the main ones that put him into trials and tribulations. They beat him. They wanted to kill him ultimately because of the way that they felt towards his vision. Once again, they were justified. They didn't have any consideration or compassion that he truly may be getting this vision from God. So now you move forward, and he is now in a ditch being sold into slavery because for the people who was closest to him, he just shared the vision. And that's kind of how I felt, at Pitt. I was, being kind of beat down, as far as what it is to be a professional athlete, what it means to move forward into a career. And now they thought they can block it because I wasn't conforming to what was being asked. And it was a learning experience for me as well. Learned a lot about myself. So I get to my, senior year, and I'll never forget my last moment at Pitt was, and it still kind of tears me up today, is being on the field. And we played Notre Dame. It was the last game at Pitt Stadium, and people were elated that we won. People were tearing bleachers out, ripping up the field. And I'm saying this may be my last opportunity to change my family's life, to make it to the pros. And I just felt like I was misunderstood the whole time. And so I really had to reel it in and bring it back together. And, I just said, I don't want this to be my last day ever playing football. Mm-hmm. And I remember just being kind of in a daze for the next year, to the point where I was a supervisor with juvenile probation and was doing some things, and had my daughter on the way, who I absolutely love and adore, who's at Tulane on a full scholarship for volleyball right now.
Volleyball, I know. Incredible.
They're doing very well, and I just love her to death. She is everything. So, and I have obviously my three other boys, Colin, Khalil, and Jalen, who are doing well in their own right, sophomore, freshman, and then seventh grader. But as I continue to go through, I was thinking that this may be my last time I ever get a chance to play football. And so to me, that was an opportunity for me to extend my family, to change it. And here it is. I'm thinking that it may be done. Had stints with teams here and there to work out, but nothing ever came to fruition. So in all this time, God was just continuing to prepare me. And everywhere I went, I still found favor. Once again, I bring it back to the Joseph story, where when he was sold into slavery, he was with Potiphar, and Potiphar found great favor for working with Joseph. And when you start looking at the scenarios of the stories, I understand that God put things in the Bible to help us sustain with day-to-day life. The Bible isn't about people just having miraculous lives. It's about truly people overcoming situation after situation, failure after failure after failure, but never losing ambition and the faith in God and what he can do for you. And I think that's where we misconstrue religion and going all the time, that adversity is going to come. God says, consider joy the various trials of life, for when your faith is tested, it produces patience, where you're made whole and complete and lacking nothing. And that's truly the scripture that I continue to start saying to myself, because if I'm going to change, I got to commit to being consistent. I have to commit to being consistent with myself first before I can expect anything else around me to change. So here I am working day to day, and I would go through juvenile probation, do the stuff that I had to during the daytime. My daughter would go home, I'd change some diapers, cook some food, then go to the gym later on at night, train from about 12 to about 2 o'clock. And it was consistent because I had a vision and a purpose. The opportunity came up with playing with a semi-pro team here. That semi-pro team kind of, the arena team kind of folded, and it went to a semi-pro thing, and played a game where I had one game in particular, I had about 700 yards passing and 6 touchdowns, and ran another one in. So that kind of led to another workout for the New York Dragons team up in New York. And so as I'm up in New York, like really when I think about this story, well, first I say, is that even something that I lived through? Because it almost seems unreal. People have asked me about writing books on it, a little, movie on it. And, I had
That's
a little.
That's going to happen soon.
It's crazy, right? And I just was like, I'm not that special. There's people out there. I seen vets. I seen kids in the Ronald McDonald House who just struggle, with just day to day. Like they don't need to hear a Darnell Dinkins story. They need somebody just to encourage them. You know what I mean? And that's just really where my heart is at. So I drive up to New York. There's like 300 or 400 guys in this room, and I'm over here throwing literally the passing. So when I played semi-pro ball, I carved up the film, and I told the guys, like, if you guys are out here, what we do is our resume. Just like you going for a job, I can't go to a job and say, hey, I graduated here, I got all this stuff, and don't have any paper to show it. They're going to be like, get out of my office. You know what I mean?
Right, I love it.
Right. So I had to come there I had to formulate a resume for football, which meant showing plays, which meant, talking about what you do, your height, weight, size, and make sure I fit their requirements. It's like who goes to a dating site and don't put in what they desire. Now, I never would do a dating site. I don't do that.
But those things are, it's
scary to me. Yeah. I'm scared of social media, but that's a whole other story in itself. I get there, older gentleman was walking around, and this older gentleman was walking, fell right by me. Now, usually, the person I am, I like to laugh and joke. Help him up. It happened to be Larry Ennis, and he was a New York Giants scout. And he said, I was just coming over to tell you there was just something about you, the way you were throwing, the way you looked, and just want to say, do you have any recent game film? Now, I'm going to take this to David, right? David, no one's seen the value in David. Okay, Samuel came to anoint one of Jesse's sons. Jesse had 7 sons that he brought. So imagine you being with your siblings, and a president comes and say, hey, I'm going to anoint one of your kids to be in a running to be the next king. And your parent go get 7 of your siblings and don't get you because you're the one who they have washing cleaning the toilets, right? Yeah. Or walking the dogs. And let's say in the midst of walking the dogs, you start seeing little animals. If you don't take appreciation in what you're doing, there's sometimes the most valuable lessons to help you sustain and grow as a person that you don't even realize. So let's say if David was sitting there just kicking back, didn't care about the lambs, he wouldn't have known how to protect them against a lion. He wouldn't have known how to protect them against the bear. But by using a tool that God showed him, pick a couple stones, 5 of them, and then put them in this apparatus, and you can literally defeat things from a distance, protecting yourself. And so if he didn't see the value in protecting those lambs, okay, his father didn't see value in them. He didn't go pick them. Oh, that's just David, right? That didn't mean that David didn't have value. So when you go in through life, you compare this to business, you compare this to your life, you compare this to your family. Mm-hmm. You don't know where when you don't want to do something the most is where you can find some of the biggest blessings. And if David don't take value in tending to those lambs, when the biggest opportunity came, which was going against Goliath, all these guys who've been battling for 20, 30 years were fighting him and were scared. If he didn't have value in that slingshot and those rocks, they were telling him, take this sword, take this shield. He said, no, I'm good. I got these 5 smooth stones and a slingshot. I'm going to go running fast to this guy. They was with me when I was faced a lion. They was with me when I faced a bear. And why won't God be with me when I go and face this uncircumcised Philistine? And that's exactly what David ran to him. No doubt in his mind. Fear and doubt truly stunts our faith.
Sure
and
does.
when I bring it back full circle, in the worst time when he felt like it wasn't going to be prosperous, David never changed who he was. Goliath made everybody know who David was. And I bring it back to this story. Semi-pro was just an opportunity to continue to keep doing what I'm doing. If I didn't see the value in going out to those games, I didn't see the value in recording the games, I didn't see the value in making a resume film for myself. So when the opportunity presented itself, when my Goliath moment was this scout, I was prepared. I had my slingshot, my 5 smooth stones, and that's what people realize. Sometimes when they get a new job, they so worried about being the boss, they don't realize how the company's running.
Yes, and that you see a lot where there's this immediate gratification, and that it is not the way people are successful. It is a period of time of growth. When you're ready, God knows you're ready. We've had so many wonderful conversations, and,
right.
A lot of laughter as well. But truly, God has a plan, and
right.
when the timing is right, everything comes through. And be consistent
right.
to continue down that path, because you came from, a very tough neighborhood,
right.
and you survived that
right.
with, faith and family and consistency. And then here we are talking about you being a Super Bowl champ.
Right.
You've succeeded, but with a great deal of prayer and faith.
Absolutely. That's what made me. That's what I'm built in. People see a 6'5", 285-pound guy,
right?
But they don't understand the tower that stands behind me of faith, because that's my foundation. And when things don't go my way, I don't get anxious about it, because I would be meaning that I could do something to fix it.
Yes.
When I truly give, the trust to God and saying, if this is your way, then I'll take my hands off of it and you show me the way. And that's exactly what it was in this situation with the Giants. So now I had the film, could go right back, and now I get the opportunity to work out with the Giants. Not only do they like what happened, they fly me back home. Mm-hmm. I come back, and I'm driving to Buffalo. True story. I'm driving to Buffalo, 5 minutes outside of Buffalo for another workout. I did well, but, they said, we'll get back to you. So I was thinking maybe the Giant opportunity left. This is a week later, a day before my birthday. 5 minutes outside of Buffalo, my truck, Expedition, hit a patch of black ice. Shoots to the side, hits an embankment, and flips over about 7 or 8 times. I traveled about 45, 50 yards. That's what there happened to be just a registered nurse right behind us when that accident happened. So I'm in the truck, and I love action movies. So I'm like, okay, this is about to blow up. Here's my chance. I need to get out. So I didn't realize I ran out the front window because I was on the side. The Expedition was like the size of a Jeep. Right over top of me was a huge V. Have no idea how I didn't get decapitated, cut off, but all I walked away with was the scar on the left side of my face. Running down the road, I'm just waiting for the truck to blow up at any moment. I'm seeing Lethal Weapon moment when Danny Glover and Mel Gibson are running and just go diving. So I'm like,
we have 2 minutes for the Lethal Weapon.
Okay.
Because I want to make sure we capture everything
Absolutely.
With you.
So at the end of the day, end up, walking away fine. 10 minutes after the accident, my cell phone was broke. The Giants called me, signed me to a contract, said you're going over to NFL Europe. So I could have broke an arm, leg, been killed, and an opportunity would never presented itself. But from one guy seeing the value in a kid in a room full of people allowed me to now be signing a contract and go to NFL Europe and have an opportunity to make the Giants roster in one moment. So that's what it means to see value in every opportunity, even if you don't see value in the opportunity at the time.
Very true. And as I've said, Darnell, you're remarkable, and I feel very grateful. Our family as well of listeners, I'm sure, will be. And I look forward to our long relationship. I know there's so many exciting things that are going to be happening in the new year, and we come from the same space, the same values, and we pray over things and we make decisions. And you're very wise. I feel very grateful that you're here as a friend, and I look at you as a mentor because you've accomplished so much, and you've certainly given us great direction and guidance. And maybe you can be a little kind on the Dick's Challenge, the half-mile marathon.
I run backwards.
Yeah, you could do that. That would help a lot. I'm just looking at, we have about 20 seconds, so we'll definitely have you back. And I'm really grateful, and it's really been a wonderful experience just having you on air. I know that many more times for you to come back and share your story because it is remarkable.
I want to put on the airways that if anybody have any requests or prayer requests, just send them to and we could just pray over it together, because I really believe that we can make a difference.
Absolutely. And with that, folks, the number 1-800-662-9550. Faith Family Finance. Stay well, folks.
This has been the Mohsin Mortgage Program with Sarah Mohsin. Mohsin Mortgage is licensed in several states for residential and commercial purchases and refinancing. Call 800-662-9550.